got 6 people on so far. Cool. All right, people. Oh, 25. Yeah, numbers are going up. All right, for the people that are in right now, it would be dope if you guys could drop which cities you're in, or what part of the world, the globe you're in. We just want to just see something real quick.
See where y'all at. See where y'all checking in.
Yeah, we got 69. Wow, 70. Okay, we got people from Long Beach, not too far from me. Shout out to Long Beach.
Puberty, Mass. That's close to me.
Peabody. We got Vancouver, upstate New York, Baltimore, New Orleans, Toronto again, Atlanta, Boston, Cambridge. Okay, South Jersey, Connecticut. Hey, man. So everybody, welcome to the live webinar with myself and Kevin Trotman, K-Trot, the assistant product manager at New Balance. And today we're going to talk about how to get into the sneaker industry. We're both graduates of the sneaker school program, powered by Yellowbrick in partnership with Complex and FIT. So I'm just going to go ahead and just give my little introduction about myself, and then I'll pass it over to K-Trot. So my name is Denis Boateng, originally from Indianapolis, and got involved in sneaker school right after graduating college. So I got a communications degree. I was working at ESPN for a little bit. And then after that, I was like, yo, what am I doing with myself? My true passion is sneakers. So how do I get involved? I started doing a couple little freelance jobs, like writing for Finish Line, writing for Cowiski, just little things writing about sneakers. And then I found out about sneaker school through Instagram. I signed up, was able to get a scholarship for the program, got involved, and through that got involved into the Facebook program and everything, and linked up with so many people, was able to get hands-on, learn so much about the industry. The programs were really, really like hands-on. They challenge you. And through it, I was able to finish. I was able to graduate from the program. I picked up so many skills. I can call myself a graphic designer now because of the program. I've been able to attend crazy events around sneakers, meet people, who are huge and well-known sneakerheads who are doing great things in the industry. And look, guys, this is the real thing. It don't get no better than that, So here we are. Me and Kevin even had the opportunity to go up to Complex, which was presented to us. So, Kevin, I'm gonna go ahead and pass it to you so you can talk a little bit, introduce yourself, and talk about your experience, and we can.
Yeah, man, absolutely, for sure. So, born and raised in Connecticut. I saw someone that was from Connecticut, so shout out to CT. Grew up playing basketball. Thought that was just my calling. Basketball was it for me. I wasn't thinking about a plan B or anything like that. Played all throughout college, and the way I actually got my job at New Balance. So New Balance was the first job I got out of college. There was a girl on the women's basketball team who I knew was working at New Balance. She graduated a year before me, and it came up to my senior year, and I really didn't want to do what I was studying. So in college, I studied public health and sociology. So nothing really regarding the sneaker industry in the least bit. But I knew that I wanted to somehow get involved in the sneaker industry. And so I was reaching out to a bunch of people, hitting them up, because I knew that there was a few sneaker companies in the Boston area. And so she was just one of those people that was on my list of long LinkedIn messages that I was sending out. And so it was just a lot of it was me, reaching out, and then a lot of it was just timing. She was moving out of her position, and she said that the department that she was working for was hiring, but it was in the customer operations department. So it was very much so like on the phones, fielding phone calls. Thank you for calling New Balance. This is Kevin type of thing. And so it was really like kind of a very like ground level job within the industry, but it's something where I was able to learn a lot through, taking those phone calls, being, a product expert for those people that didn't know about, what was the best, what would be the best suggestion for somebody that's coming in looking for a running shoe, they have flat feet and they pronate. What can you guys offer that's going to be, good for our customers? So having being forced to have that product knowledge on a whim too was huge for me. And then I knew that I wanted to set myself apart. I knew that I wanted to, go further. I knew that it was just a stepping stone for me. So I was really trying to figure out, how can I set myself apart so when I go to that interview, I could be like, okay, hey, I'm doing X, Y, and Z to further my knowledge. And that's how I came across Yellowbrick. And ultimately was able to use some, and I will probably get into it later, but ultimately was able to use some of those, some of those lessons and some of those projects that I was doing in the course in that actual interview that I was interviewing for, which got me this job as an assistant product manager. So it's kind of quick little tidbit about my path. Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you for that, Kevin. So also to everybody that's tuned in right now, a couple little things that I want to tell you. If you look at your Zoom, there's a Q&A box. That's where you can drop the questions that you may have for myself or Kevin regarding to the webinar. Any questions that you may have, please feel free, hit the Q&A button, drop your questions in there, and then we will be going through the questions. We'll try our best to go through all of them. And we also have questions that were emailed to us already. So we're going to try our best to answer all of them to the best of our knowledge and our ability. So please just stay tuned in. And look, guys, there's going to be a lot of dope information. Kevin has some dope stuff that he wants to show us from New Balance as well. So I guess just to start off, I'm going to ask some of the questions from the email. We can start off with some of those and let people get warmed up. And then if they have any questions, like I said, again, drop in the Q&A box. Don't be shy, y'all. We can't even see your faces or anything. There's no such thing as a stupid question. Ask away. So a question that was emailed to us, it said, okay, I know you can't start at the top. Where do you start? I've worked in restaurants as a cook by starting at the dishwasher position. What's the dishwasher position of the sneaker industry?
Yeah, that's
a good one.
And I think that's one that kind of I low-key already kind of touched on a little bit, was being in a customer service position can definitely be a little daunting when it comes to how repetitive it actually is. So I think that could be considered the dishwasher position. I think another thing is, retail. And there's nothing against people that work in retail because it's such an essential part of the business to understand. I think starting in retail is huge. It's easy to plateau when you're in retail. So if at all in any way, making sure that you're gaining those connections. So from my experience being in customer ops and, having to be almost, chained to my desk because I had to be on call whenever, you have to make an effort to do other things in order to reach out and get to where you want to go. And so a lot of it is just not being afraid to ask people for help. Like that's one of the biggest things that I've learned, is that no one's going to be upset at someone just because they want to know more about the industry. And there's so many things within the industry that people don't know about, and areas that, you might not even know that there are in the industry. So kind of making sure that while you're doing, that dirty work or that job that might not be the most glamorous, you're doing it to the best of your ability, and you're making a vital effort to actually go through and meet with people. I was meeting with people all the time when I was in customer service, just being like, hey, I know you have a busy schedule. Can we just grab like a quick lunch, or can I grab 15 minutes of your time? I just want to learn more about what you do. And, I definitely did have an advantage because I was in the headquarters still. So being that it's the headquarters, kind of everybody's here from all facets of the company. And so for me, I took advantage of that. I was, I was having meetings, I was having lunches, I was getting coffees, you know what I mean? That type of thing, just to let people know that I'm interested.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's
so
right.
I think that's one of the main
I would
things.
also say too, sometimes you do have to do certain things for free.
Yeah,
Like you just got to do certain things for free,
absolutely.
and you got to look for the information. I
Mhm.
think for me, looking online at just different opportunities. Like I think a lot of times, as people in the industry, before you get in the industry, you think, oh, sneakers. You think physically actually being involved with the sneaker in
Right,
hand itself,
right, right,
and that's not how it always works.
right.
There's so many different layers to be before you get the physical thing. Like there's the media part, there's the merchandising, there's the
There's
uh,
marketing, you
marketing.
know,
So these are things that you actually learn in the program, in the
exactly,
Sneaker School
exactly.
program, that is not just one thing. Like there's so many different layers. So people may be talking about reselling and all that different stuff. Like if you get in the program and invest in the Sneaker School program, you'll find out that there's so much more that goes into that. There's so many layers to all these things that you may be seeing from the outside.
Yeah,
But for myself, I was just literally with Finish Line. It was one thing where I tweeted something about my first experience, remembering when my mom bought me my first pair of Air Force Ones, right? They liked it, whatever. They DM me, was like, yo, that's so cool. And guess what? I capitalized on that opportunity, was like, hey,
crazy.
how can we work together? They were like, hey, we do have freelance writing opportunities. Are you a writer? I'm like, heck yeah, I am.
Yeah,
You know,
uh-huh.
and thankfully I had writing opportunities before that I did for free, but
Right.
this landed me an opportunity to write for Finish Line and get paid. And I was writing about sneakers. Literally, I was online searching different publications, doing research and finding out about the designers and who was involved in the process, just different things. And, it just got me involved, but it ignited me to even get into the Sneaker School program even more, to have that knowledge. Um,
Absolutely, bro.
let's see. Let's see another question. Uh, okay. Often I hear about nightmare work culture experiences in multiple industry. How have both of you found the work culture within the industry? I think you could speak more to
Yeah,
this.
yeah. I would definitely say it depends on where you're at. It depends on the department that you're in.
Mm-hmm.
It depends on the team that you're on. I would say for me, I mean, I can only speak to being, with one company. Um, I can definitely say it's something that, and I usually relate it back to athletics. And so if someone else is, doing the same thing that you're doing, has the same end goal, so i.e. a competitor,
Mm-hmm.
um, you want to make sure that you're doing every single thing in your power to make sure that you're working harder than them. It's the whole mantra of, if you're not working hard, someone else is working harder.
Mm-hmm.
That goes hand in hand with the sneaker industry. If you're not putting in the hours and the time to make sure that you're doing your best job in the facet of the company that you're owning, then it just brings the company down. And you might not see that directly in sales, but in terms of the culture, you can see it. And I definitely think, for me anyway, my team, specifically collaborations, we're the workhorses. We're usually the people that are, still in the off. Like my team's probably still here right now, and it's 6:15, and we, get here around 8:30 type of thing. So, making sure that we're dialed is a big thing. Making sure we're organized, and with that comes time. And so, and also partnering with a bunch of different sectors of the company takes up a bunch of time. So making sure that you're being efficient with your time is huge.
Mm-hmm.
I can't speak enough about making sure that you're efficient, just because there's so many things that get thrown at you that, being organized, being well equipped to answer certain questions throughout the day just makes the day-to-day easier. But yeah, man, yeah, the culture here is very much so. We're kind of the underdog. We're putting in the work. We're making sure that we're doing all that we can to set ourselves apart and not look like robots either. A lot of the time in the industry, you'll see brands doing things that other brands are doing, just in a slightly different capacity.
Uh-huh.
And so, making sure that you're holding your brand's values at the forefront of whatever you're doing will eventually trickle out into what the product looks like and what the product feels like when it's consumer facing. And so yeah, man, I think that's kind of the gist of it for sure.
Here's another good one that I just saw. So it says, how would you direct someone moving from finance accounting that wants to get into the sneaker industry, possibly without starting at rock bottom? What would be a pretty good opening position to target? So you already did the dope part, which is like finance and accounting. Like that's another part that goes into the sneaker industry.
It's huge.
Like you'll learn that when a sneaker is produced and developed, like there are people who have to pretty much create the price point.
Yeah,
you have to put a price to that sneaker. Like being in the finance department and all of that, like you can work with the marketing team to be able to do those things, right?
And it's even more than just like the sneaker itself too, just from like a logistical standpoint. So, you're doing a launch and there's marketing dollars behind it. Obviously marketing takes care of the budgets, but when it comes to like the actual finances and the nitty gritty of it, we turn to our finance department. So there's definitely other sectors that you can get into that you could still use that you'd still be able to use that same accounting skill set that you have. And it would be directly in sneakers and talking about sneakers, which I think is great, because at the end of the day, we have our skill sets and some of us don't realize some of the skills that we do have. But once you find that niche, it's almost like, okay, you want to hone that and make sure that you're utilizing it in a way that it's going to be beneficial for you and the company. And so, yeah, that's a good one. But yeah, we got a whole finance department upstairs. It's very much a thing and it's very much an avenue. But it's about, looking in and actually seeing, okay, what's the actual position? What's the job description? What would be my daily tasks? And companies have that. It's just a matter of actually looking for it.
Yeah. Another good question, I think we could both answer this, is how do jobs look at us when we say we have this degree, this sneaker essentials degree? I'm gonna let you go ahead and go first.
I mean, for me, in my situation, it was a lot of great timing, just because when this current position that I'm in right now was opening up, I was literally like finishing the program. So during my interview process, I was able to say, hey, look, I'm in this program. I have these. So I did I gave my consumer profile and some of my sketches over. And just to show like, hey, I don't really know what I'm doing, but this is me putting my best effort forward and showing that I really care about getting to that next level. And I really think that's, some of my insights, can be valued. And at that point I was on the phone all day and then going home and doing the course. So literally saying that to, my now boss, saying, listen, I'm doing this work throughout the day, but I'm going home and I'm doing I'm learning and talking about sneakers, which is where I obviously want to be. And so I think, the course speaks, crazy levels to, when you're in that interview and you could literally hand them a piece of paper or, show them something, you're just setting yourself apart. Because it's one thing to be like, okay, hey, look, I know this and that about the industry, And then it's another thing to be like, hey, I have these physical, tangible items that I could show you that I'm truly putting in the work. And so, yeah, for me, it was huge for me.
Okay. Yeah. I think for me, it's kind of the thing of, I'm big on relationships. So being able to be in the program did help me meet so many people like yourself and other students in the program that I never would have probably met if I wasn't in the program. Right. So we were all in this program. And the cool thing too about it is that we were, very like overachievers when it came to this program. Yeah. And that's one thing that I want people to hear. Like when you get in this program, don't take it lightly. Like if this is really your passion, you gotta go hard. Like you're gonna have projects that, like I said, are going to bring out different skills. So I see people asking about being a graphic designer and finance and marketing, all this stuff. Look, all those skills that you do have are going to count in this program. When you get in this program, you invest and you take the time, you'll see that these will ignite your skills and your gifts. So with me, I have an eye for design, and I'm good with talking to people and connecting people. I used all those skills, you know. I was able to design for my assignments. We even had to design sneakers in this course, right? So it challenged me to find programs and learn how to sketch different things. There's another assignment in the program where you have to pretty much have a prototype design, like your own sneaker boutique. Like, these are things that are in the program that, you know, you don't want to miss out on. You know what I mean? You want to get in there, take it seriously, and you have instructors who are in the industry. Like, we had someone like what's his name? Russ Bankston. We had Joe LaPuma, Josh Luber from StockX. I mean, DJ Clark Kent. Like, there's different people that are giving you tips and teaching you in this program. And I've had the opportunity to even meet DJ Clark Kent, you know, so that was a cool part about that. And being able to meet Kevin too, like, we hit it off the first time we met, you know, we're good friends now. There's another question for you, Kevin, that asked, what is your day-to-day like as the assistant product manager at New Balance?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's a crazy culmination of things, but I will give the very basic. So day to day for me looks like, and again, I'm an assistant and an assistant to the T. So a lot of it, I'm still doing a lot of dirty work. So when it comes to, you know, our samples that we're sending out, because since it's collaborations, every sample that we're doing, we're sending out to our partner also. So I'm literally physically packing up boxes and sending shoes out. A lot of it is me talking and connecting with our marketing department. I talk a lot with our developers. So developers are like, okay, you know, we have this shoe and it has a certain cost, right? And so if you're looking to get that cost down, or if you're looking to see if you have room to kind of, you know, spruce it up a little bit, the developer is saying, okay, well, that lace is 25 cents. If you go down to this other option lace, that's going to be 15 cents. You can help that margin when you go to sell it to that wholesale, when you go to wholesale it to that partner. So that's the developer. So we talk with them a whole lot. And then we also talk with the designers, obviously. So, you know, actually the people who are, you know, making those overlays and underlays and those cuts on the shoe, and bringing that shoe actually to life from a sketch on the paper. And so a lot of it is, you know, talking with them, making sure that those changes that we're making are, you know, communicated correctly over to the factories that we use overseas. Because a lot of it can, you know, get lost in translation. And so it kind of goes back to what I was talking about before about how, you know, making sure you're organized is super, super key. And you're very particular about everything that's going to be on that tech pack. And you'll learn if you take the course. A tech pack is basically just, it's pretty much just an instruction booklet for the sneaker. And it tells the factory, all right, we want this kind of suede here. We want this other kind of suede here. We want this type of color. This is the part number. So it's sectioned out for the people at the factory to go, okay, I can look at this sheet and I'll be able to build the sneaker because I have all of these, instructions. And so so yeah, design and development from day to day is like a big thing for me. I do that a lot. I partner with them a lot. And then a lot of it too is, you know, we'll have our partners come in, we'll have design reviews. And so a lot of it's planning. So right now we're doing a lot of planning for, you know, and second half of 2021. So a lot of my thoughts are, and like, I'm always thinking in the future, we're always thinking, you know, far ahead just to make sure that we're, you know, we have enough time to build that product. So just in general, for a tidbit, it usually takes us about, you know, for regular inline product, It's a 12 to 18 month process. We've churned out collabs a little bit quicker in some senses, just because we've been nimble and been able to be quick. But it's usually about for us anyway, specifically about 8 to 10 months, where from when we're seeing it first sketched on a paper, or a brief, to it actually going to market. So that's kind of the gist of it. And I handle a lot of our legal things. So when all of our shoes are co-branded usually, and with that you have to run it by legal just to make sure that everything's straight. And so I'm literally talking with our in-house lawyers that we have on a daily basis, just making sure that everything's good. We're able to make the product how we actually want to make it without being liable for anything. So yeah, man, and it's something that I wouldn't have ever have thought that I'd be doing, or I'd never thought I'd be talking to some of these people that I'm talking to. So being able to have a well-rounded knowledge of the space has been huge. But yeah, that was quickly my day-to-day in a nutshell.
And but that's great that you broke it down like that, because like I said before, a lot of people, when they see a shoe or they see collaborations, they just think, oh, somebody probably like a shoe brand probably hit them up, or they hit the shoe brand up, was like, let's collab, and drop the design, and that's it. And there goes the shoe. But that's not how it works out. There's so many different layers that, in different positions that people can get involved in. So to people who are watching and listening and attending, remember, there's so many different positions that you could have in the sneaker industry.
Absolutely.
It's not just designing the sneakers. There's people who work with color. There's people who work with just the material. There's people who just work with the outsole, people who just work with laces. Like, there's so many different things that you can get into. Now, I see a lot of people asking questions about reselling and all of that.
Yeah, I've seen.
There's a lot. That information is in the Sneaker Essentials program. And that's what we're saying. Like, if you're really about it, if you're really about this life, if you're really about this sneaker life,
about it though.
If you're really about it, sign up for the program. Both myself and Kevin have links in our bios on our Instagrams where you can go and sign up for the class. There's you can sign up for the class. There's also scholarships available. There's ways to get into this. Like, this is 2020. There's a lot of information out there, and Sneaker School has the information that you need to catapult you into the industry. I can't say how many people that I've met and I've built relationships with, continuously building relationships with, or just the work that I've done, that I'm just like, hold on. Like, I've done unboxing with a company that I wrote for Jordan Brand. And that's just off of like, oh, okay, this is the guy who knows about sneakers. They were like, yo, we need a sneaker guy. And guess what? That's me.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
there. I understand and know what's going on. So they're gonna be like, yo, we want Denis to do this. What else? Yes, people, this program is worth it. If it wasn't, me and Kevin wouldn't be here. Kevin has shared already that he was in a certain position as he was trying to move up and networking with people. He was doing this program, and then when it was time for him to move up, when the manager that was interviewing him saw that he was taking this program and taking this thing seriously, that helped get him to where he's at today as assistant product manager at New Balance. Also too, I guess, Kevin, you had something that you wanted to show us too, that you wanted to speak about. So I'm gonna give you things.
Yeah, I got a few things. I just wanted to at least show a couple different things just about my day-to-day and kind of what I do and the prototype process, because I don't think a lot of people realize how many iterations of a sneaker actually are worked on before that final sample is ready for to be confirmed. And so I brought a sample of a collaboration we just did with Foot Locker Greenhouse and a Parisian cafe, so a cafe out in Paris called Paperboy. And so we have, this is the first sample, yeah. So it's an 801, and excuse my quality of my screen, but this is the shoe, so gum bottom. You have a texture midsole here, mesh on the saddle. And so this is one of the first prototypes. So this first prototype, like I said, we had the gum here, which we ended up changing, and then this sock liner here. So what's right here on the inside. Second version, we switched it up. We just went to a little bit of a darker tan on that sock liner, and then we lightened up and went to a yellow instead of that gum. And so little things like that people, wouldn't usually see on sneakers. And it seems like such a tiny thing, but when you're working with, these collaborative partners, people are so, they're so particular because it's our name, obviously, that's on the shoe, but it's their name too that's on it. So we'll go back and forth. So I think we probably did about 4 different prototypes of that shoe before we got to that final sample. So just being aware that, those small details are super, super important to, a lot of these companies that we're doing collaborations with. And just in general, in the sneaker process in general, there's so many things that, have to be altered or have to be changed. Like I said, we work with development a bunch. So if there's something that's on the shoe that, is really, bucking up the price a little bit and you don't want it to, you can't have it be that high, we'll, do another prototype to make it, make sure that we can, get that cost down, but without compromising, the aesthetic and the look of the shoe. And so, yeah, I brought those from a prototype update standpoint. And then I also brought in a couple bangers that we came out with last year. So so this was our first collaboration we did with Bodega, which is out of Boston. And it's on the 997S, which at the time was a relatively new silhouette for us. So we took a few key characteristics from the original 997 and then just kind of revamped it a little bit. And so this was the first collaboration we did. Hairy suede on this saddle here, and then just a regular, I believe this is a synthetic leather on this side here, mesh toe box. And so this shoe kind of blew up like crazy, way more than we thought it was gonna blow up. And with that, so there was 3 different prototypes I think 3 or 4 different prototypes that we did with this shoe. And one of them was this shoe that we ended up releasing with them. So a couple months, this first drop was in April, and then the second drop was in September, if I'm not mistaken. And so with the September drop, this happened super organically, and it's one of those things that I wanted to share because I think it was pretty interesting. And so Bodega does a lookbook every season, and they had these in their lookbook just because their models were wearing a bunch of different samples that they had, and so we had actually no plans to actually come out with this, but the response on IG was so crazy that they were like, "Oh, when is this?" People were commenting, "When is this coming out? Are y'all doing this? Is this true?" type of thing. When really it was kind of just like a model is just wearing it type stuff. So we upped the pairs on this one, did more pairs here. And again, these blew out too. And it's kind of one of those things that, kind of happened organically, and working in collaboration specifically. We have to be, we have to be super alert and very nimble and very quick. So if we're seeing something that's popping and we have, the manpower to execute it in a quick way, quicker than other brands would, obviously we would hop on it. And so that's one of those examples of, us being nimble, being quick. And then I just have one more example from another thing, also being quick, but also, how New Balance as a brand, we like to go left when other brands are going right. You know what I mean? And so and this is a good story too, just from how did that collaboration, come about? And so this past All-Star weekend, we did a collaboration with a Chicago-based designer named Joe Freshgoods. And so one of the reasons why that came about was because our VP of marketing came over to us earlier last year, and he was like, "Hey, we're going to be at All-Star. Kawhi is obviously going to be in the All-Star game. We want to do something. We want to do a collaboration if we could around that weekend in Chicago." And he kind of tasked us with like, "Okay, go find that person." And so we actually ended up going to Complex Con last July, and we saw Joe's booth, which was crazy, which was absolutely bonkers. And one of my homies, David Gibson, had been telling us about Joe Freshgoods for a while now. And so we went out there, saw how crazy his booth was. We went to the Fat Tiger workshop, which is his store, talked to one of his associates. He was like, "I'll get you in touch with Joe." And then we were able to, meet with him, within that, I think we met in September. And so from September to February, we were able to design, develop 2 silhouettes. So we were able to do this 992 here. So tongue, we have the DBM, which is Don't Be Mad. So that's his brand that he has. And so it plays well with Kawhi just because he's almost emotionless. And so we also have the custom inserts here. So minimal co-branding, but we have the Don't Be Mad, No Emotions Are Emotions tagline was the name of the collaboration. So we did these 992s, and then we also did our basketball silhouette, the Omnis. And so being that Joe Fresh is, a wild designer, he kind of flipped his Don't Be Mad. These were smiley faces, but he kind of flipped it to all be straight faces. Just again, playing on that riff of, no emotions are emotions. And same co-branded insert, translucent sole on the bottom here also with the straight faces. And so we were able to check a couple boxes. We were able to bring a lifestyle shoe that we're pushing throughout this year. You'll see a lot of 992s from New Balance this year. And then we're also able to hit the Omnis, which is our basketball silhouette, which obviously we just got back into basketball at the end of last year. And so, being able to, hit those 2 silhouettes with a dude like Joe Freshgoods was crazy. And it just kind of, it put us in a good sense of like, put us in a good area of, we're in Chicago, it's a Jordan brand city, but we're able to, at least penetrate that a little bit and say, okay, we're still coming here, we're going to show up. And, the line was stupid. It was over, I want to say it's 600-700 people there.
That's one of the biggest lines that I've seen for New Balance.
Oh, absolutely.
Ever. Along with, of course, with Ame Leon Doris drop.
Yeah.
So just listening to how you're describing how these collaborations happen and everything, I guess I would have a question for you. When you guys find this talent, right? As far as like, hey, this is a person that we would like to collaborate with. Who works on the communications of that collaboration? Does that go through you as a assistant product manager in your team, or is it somebody else?
Yeah. So for the most part, it's mostly my manager, and then our manager, who's from the UK. So he has, that international presence. Yeah, a lot of it's through my manager. A lot of it's through, just obviously relationship building. So if it's something that, someone comes to me with a good idea, I'm going to bring it to light, and I'm going to, have my opinion and say, we should or we shouldn't, or, this idea got ran by me. I think it's, something that we could definitely look into. Some of it's, super organic, how collaborations come about, kind of like the Joe Freshgoods. It could also be, something as easy as, okay, let's look at the calendar. What are like the cultural moments throughout this year that we can hit? When's Coachella? When's South by Southwest? When are these events where, we can present ourselves in a way where, and we've talked about this offline, but, how are we gonna show up where, you know, we're doing a collaboration with whoever and at whatever time, but we want to make sure it's a time in a company where they're doing something that we couldn't and vice versa. So we're both lifting each other up. And making sure, and it just has to make sense too. You know what I mean? Making sure that it's not something that's going to be diluting the industry and diluting, you know, the sneaker world, because you can tell, like, people could sniff out when something's like licensed or something is, you know what I mean? Something's just not authentic. And so, yeah, man, I think that's one of the biggest things. But yeah, it's wild how some of these things come about. And, you know, once you build those relationships, you know, you'll start seeing, you know, for instance, for ABET, like we're coming out with a collab with them tomorrow, actually, officially. But those 827s, like, we've done projects with them in the past. We know how to work with them. We know how they work. They know how we work. And so it becomes easier as time goes on too. So that's another little tidbit too.
Yeah, and one thing to the comment I want to make is, you know, off of the conversations that we've had offline too, is just like, you said one thing that's super intricate to me that I think is really, really important for everybody else to hear. You said, we're always working in the future, right?
Yeah, sure.
So when I heard that, what I thought about is, okay, so a sneaker company is always working in the future, right? So as someone who would like to be in the sneaker industry, that means that your thinking has to be in the future as well too. You always have to you gotta be informed. Like, you have to understand, you have to know the language that these people are speaking. Like, you know, when you're talking to your friends, when you're in line waiting to buy a shoe, or, you know, you're just whatever, you might just, man, these are dope, and the bottom of the shoe, or man, the leg. But that's not how they might be talking in those rooms when they're, you know, observing product. There's names, there's an anatomy that goes to a shoe. And you also have to be informed of maybe different brands, you know, that what they're doing, what they make.
Absolutely. Half of it is, you know, making sure that you're researching what other brands are doing and how they're bringing their product to light. And it's not even on some like copy type stuff. It's more on some, you know, where are we stacking up compared to them, you know, because we have, obviously you don't know what companies are going to be doing in the future. You just know what y'all are doing right now. And so, but yeah, a lot of it's, you have to know the market, and the only way to know the market is, you know, to research and, you know, look at those from, in my case, those competitors, and, you know, seeing how, you know, they're working in their product into some of these spaces. So yeah, that's a lot of it too.
I see a cool question here. What has been your favorite collaboration or shoe that's, you know, you've been either part of or that you've seen within New Balance?
Yeah, I think, man, I hate to like go back and say the Joe Freshgoods thing, because I just I just showed them, but I just think about the thing about Joe Freshgoods is I grew up playing basketball, so the fact that we were able to do a collaboration on a basketball silhouette that I could go out now and hoop in is crazy to me. It's kind of just like blending, you know, my whole life low key together. So I think Joe Freshgoods was dope. I think being a part of, and I wish I could, you know, tell some of the things that are coming out yet, are coming out soon, but I obviously can't. Definitely a few things that I'm definitely really excited about. I think another good collab that we did was obviously all of our ALD stuff, just from you know, just from an aesthetic standpoint. Like I said,
storytelling,
you know, the apparel collections that we do and that tie in with the sneakers are super, super strong, because obviously ALD is known for their apparel. So I think being able to see it in that scale, and, you know, seeing some of the people that are wearing our stuff is super dope. So, you know, seeing, you know, celebrities in our sneakers is huge. But I think at this point in my career, I'm gonna have to put Joe Freshgoods at the top of that list, just because of how organic it was. He's an African-American designer. I, you know, just really respect his grind and his, you know, his journey too, because, you know, he was telling me, like, Bro, I've been doing this for 12, 13 years, man. This is my first sneaker. So, seeing his perseverance and, seeing that, like, he knows his worth, I think is huge. So that was probably, that's probably my number one, I'd say.
Also too, I got a question that was posed here.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's a brand, right, that is interested in collaborating or that may have a certain design, what would be, or there's a designer, what would be a step that, or some advice that you would give for someone to get in touch with a brand, like if they have an idea?
Absolutely.
How does that process work?
Yeah. So I definitely think that first off, you definitely have to have that idea buttoned up and organized. I can't tell you how many, messages that, we'll get where it'll be like, yo, like, I think it would be dope if we, do this shoe and, here's a sketch, but there's no plan around it and there's no story, which I think is huge. I think storytelling is without a doubt the most vital part of a sneaker launch. You could almost have a crappy sneaker, and if the story's dope, it will sell. And so I think coming into presenting this, it has to be a clear set brief where, you're saying this is the product, this would, be my idea on the marketing initiative. This is where I think that these pairs would go. So, and that's a note that a lot of people don't think about is, okay, you have this great idea, you have this dope design, but where are you going to sell it? Is it going to be in America? Is it going to be just, regionally, is it going to be in the Northeast? Is it going to be in the South? Or is it going to be global? What's your intent behind, where the sneaker is going to actually sit and live?
Yeah.
I think is a big part that people don't understand sometimes. They just think that, you have a shoe and it'll just go there and it'll work, and it won't, because people are so different. People in LA don't dress how people in New York dress. People in New York don't dress how people in Miami dress. So making sure that target consumer too is huge. Who is it going to, and what's it for? I think it is one of the main things. And then from just like reaching out standpoint, a lot of it is you gotta shoot your shot. You find somebody that is in the industry or works for a certain brand. Send them a LinkedIn message, send them an IG message. They may not get back to you, but keep trucking, try and find somebody else that works for the company, or at least find somebody that knows somebody that works at the company. Because I can't tell you how many times things come about because somebody in the office knows someone that knows someone, type of thing.
That's right.
So making sure that you're building those relationships with just people in the industry, and a lot of that is going to events, going to these sneaker meetups, joining these types of webinars, gaining that knowledge, and just talking to people. Because I'm coming to find out as I'm getting a little further in my career that the sneaker industry really is tiny. It may seem like it's big, but you see the same people at this events, you see the same people at at parties. You're rubbing shoulders with similar people. And so, just making sure that if you have an in some way, making sure you capitalize it, making sure you nurture that relationship. And that was something me and Dennis were talking about yesterday. Just making sure you nurture those relationships once you do gain those relationships. Because it's one thing to, know somebody at a company and always ask for something. And it's another thing to, nourish that relationship and be like, hey, I'm not going to step on your toes. I just want to throw this idea at you. I think it could be, a good look, type of thing. I think that goes a crazy long way. So yeah, man. Yeah, I think it has a lot to do with, making sure that relationship is right.
Yeah. And also too, one thing that you said about reaching out to those people is finding the professional way to reach out to people. I think that, within the sneaker industry too, is like, because it's such a industry and a culture that is so, I guess you want to say, like, kind of young and progressive, people think that you can be laxed about it, but that's not how it works, right?
No.
There's ways that you go about reaching out to people. Even when you're sliding in somebody's DM, you can't just ask for favors. You should introduce yourself. and then try to build that relationship. Tell them about, maybe ask them about how they got there. You want that person to be like, okay, obviously this person is coming to me, but why? Are they just here to ask for a favor? Or are they really trying to build a relationship? Or are they trying to learn something? Because most of the time, when you're just asking for a favor, be like, hey, this is what I have. Boom, great idea. You should make this happen.
Right.
Ain't no should gonna happen.
Exactly.
There has to be some type of level or what do you call it? Some type of foundation where
Right.
people are getting to know each other, even if nothing comes out of it. Because, like you said, to a lot of people, the sneaker industry seems so huge, but it's all the same people. Like, you run into the same people, and they all know each other.
Absolutely.
So you don't want to rub the one person. You might rub the wrong person wrong, where they might be like, oh, this person, you might not want to work with them because they're this way.
And that's another thing that is so true. It's one of those things where, like, because so many people know each other, once you get that, I've seen people be like, nah, don't mess with them. Like, I work with them, they're horrible to work with. That's the thing. If you hear that, oh, they're horrible, or oh, they're tough to work with, it's deaded in terms of like people in the sneaker industry. Because and I think it's all facets of professionalism and professional work, but I think especially with our world, it's like we're so busy throughout the day that if it's something that is going to be wasting our time, or something that's being something that's way more difficult than it needs to be, and obviously nobody wants that, but it's something that after a short amount of time, it'll turn very cold and then turn into something that you just like, you kind of push to the side.
That's right.
So just making sure that you have make sure you have that goal in mind. You know what I mean? Making sure you know what you're trying to get out of that partnership speaks volumes.
Yeah. And I guess, man, we had a lot of questions. Like, I love the interaction with everybody.
Yeah.
We may not be able to answer every question, right? But I will say this. We're going to talk a little bit more about sneaker school as well. So I'm going to give you the floor for any advice or anything that you may have regarding sneaker school and Yellowbrick, what it's done for you and what it could do for others. And then I'm going to do the same thing. And then people are asking for our IG handles and all that. And we'll give that at the end.
For sure.
You got it.
Yeah, man. I think for me, what initially just enticed me about the program was when I was seeing the instructors that were, in the ads, man. Like, these were people that I've either, been looking up to for years, or I know that are coming onto the scene, and they're making a vital impact in the sneaker industry. And obviously seeing Complex's name is huge. And so, that partnership and, seeing those things was what really kind of drew me towards the program. And then it took me a little bit to actually sign up and to, get that courage to be like, you know what, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna invest. This is something that I want to do. And then after I kind of just like took that leap, it was one of those things where it was like, if I'm trying to get to this next level, I need to do something that's going to set me apart, because there's so many people that want to get into the industry. There's so many people that have been trying to get into the industry for years. And since I was definitely in the industry, but I wasn't really in it like I wanted to be in it. So I was like, all right, well, I might as well just take this leap and do it and just kind of indulge myself. And so I ended up taking the course, obviously. And it was one of those things where once it started, it didn't feel like work, or it didn't feel like homework, or it really didn't feel like it was more like, I love documentaries. And so this was almost like a documentary, like an instructional documentary for me, with, the likes of, like you said, DJ Clark Kent, Russ Bankston, Joe LaPuma, all those guys. And so hearing from people in the industry that work in such different areas was huge, just to get those insights too. And then And it was one of those things too, where like, I found myself, you know, and I think a lot of people do when you're going through the course, you'll kind of hit roadblocks and you're like, oh man, I don't know about this. This is, you know, this is taking me forever type of thing. I think one of the biggest things you could do is kind of just sit back, take a couple of days if you need it to, step away from the program for a little bit, and kind of ponder on whatever that project is that you're working on. Because I find that it helped me when I would just kind of take a step back and, you know, go throughout my day, but like still in the back of my mind thinking, okay, what am I gonna make that boutique look like? How am I gonna make it, you know, represent my values or represent something that I think is a dope aesthetic?
That's right.
And so being able to take a step back and be like, all right, let me just turn off the computer real quick, come back and see what's good, was dope. So yeah, man. And then from there, actually finishing the program was like the best feeling in the world. Just because it was one of those things where it's like, hey, I completed this, I got this certificate, and now let me flex this real quick. Let me go to, you know, interviews and, you know, making sure you put that on your LinkedIn, because it's a certificate. You better
That's right.
roll that on there just to say, you know, so it's there, it's concrete. Hey, I did this program. I put in the time. I put in the effort. I have on my LinkedIn, these are the projects that I listed out each course that was taken, just to say, hey, this was a well-rounded course. They hit on this subject, just to, you know, prove the legitimacy of it, because it's definitely something that now being an assistant product manager, you know, I'm taking a lot of those things away that I was learning in the course and applying it to, you know, what I'm doing now. And it kind of just gave me a leg up from, you know, some of the other people that were going for that position too, that, you know, had this either, you know, the same amount of experience than me or less. So yeah, I think for me, it was one of those things where I knew that I wanted to get in and I knew that I wanted to set myself apart, but it was just kind of, you know, taking that leap and being like, all right, let me just divulge and let me go in. And obviously it's obviously worked out for me. So
yeah.
And that's
Now that's awesome, man. I can, you know, similar, you know, experience, you know, for me, it was just one of those things where I was like, okay, I'm done saying I'm done playing. You know, let me hop in.
Yes, sir.
Like, I really want to be about the sneaker, like for real, and not just on some, hey, I'm just buying and collecting sneakers, but I want to be in the industry. I want to write about them. I want to be able to be involved in product. I want to help with relationships. I want to bring projects to brands and be like, yo, this would be dope. You know, so I was like, how do I do that? And literally, like, I'm on IG, I see an ad, and I'm like, yo, I got to go for it.
Yeah.
Got into it. And when I tell you that it was probably the best thing that I did for myself, like I invested, like it truly was, because I picked up so many different skills. Like I've met people that I'm like, yo, like, and here's another thing. Just because certain people are not famous or like huge don't mean that they're not like the head honchos in the sneaker industry. Most of the time, you probably won't even know who they are. They don't have 30,000 IG followers or 100,000 followers. Trust me, they don't. They probably have like 800 and they're not even like super active on there because they're so focused on their projects. Like I've been able to talk to designers of some of my favorite shoes just on some learning about the shoe because of sneaker school and ignited me to do the research. I got to find out who the person behind the shoe is and find them either on LinkedIn or IG. And I emailed them like, hey, this is who I am. I'm in this program. And I found out about you. Man, I would love to learn more about you and how you got where you at. And these are connections that I've built just off of being in the program. Another thing too, the program is a year long. So you can work at your own pace. I literally was working a full-time job as well. So I would take certain days out of the week where I was like, okay, these 3 days, I'm going to focus on sneaker school. Like those are my days that I'm going to take like 3 hours out of those days and focus and get this much work done. If I have a project, I'm like, man, I might need a whole week to work on that project. So like you said, man, I work on it, shut the computer off and come back to it and make sure that it was dope. Because one thing too that I don't want you guys to sleep on in this program is presentation. There's people who do look at your assignments, right? Because there's a whole Facebook group too, where you link up with people who may live in the same area as you, that you can talk to, get advice from. And there's people who are facilitators too that will tell you and give you advice. Graduation was amazing. You know, being able to get my certificate, I put it on my LinkedIn super quick. And yeah, man, like this program really helped me so much, man. Like it has given me the ends of the sneaker industry and opened up my mind as to how much there is to do. Like people say, oh, the sneaker industry is oversaturated, but it's not. There's so much room to do so many great things. And you may not end up working for a New Balance or a Nike or Adidas, but there's so many other huge brands or small brands that need people to get in there and make things pop.
Exactly. And people that are hungry too. That's another thing too. You see a lot of complacency with some of these, you know, you kind of just tell. And so like, for instance, I mean, there's, like we talked about, there's so many different sectors of companies. And, you know, someone that's working on a different floor in this building might just be in it, you know, for their 9 to 5. They do what they got to do and dip. Whereas, you know, that's all cool and well. But if you're trying to, you know, push and make sure that you're, you know, putting your best effort forward for the brand, you're going to want to put in that extra effort regardless. And so that's what companies are looking for. Companies are looking for people that are hungry. That's what it is. You have to be hungry. You can't be complacent. You have to show every single day that you're hungry and that you're about it. I just wanted to add that in because I think that's super important that, you know, companies kind of look into for sure.
Yeah. So Kevin, before we close, I got a question that somebody asked that I think is super important. And then we will give you guys our IG names. I promise we'll drop those.
People have been dropping their IGs. Like everybody's like sharing their IGs.
Yeah,
See, that's what I love, man. Like sneakers create a community.
Is why we ask people to tune in, man. Like
I love that.
And I love people sharing and connecting. This is how you make things happen. But so what is your like bottom line like goal? Like what's next for you? Because you're you know, you're in New Balance and you're a assistant product manager right now, working with collaborations and everything. What's the next step for you, man?
The next step for me is to keep doing my job as the best I can. I think I definitely want to, you know, stay in product and make sure that I really hone this skill. I think that next step is, you know, so there's levels. So there's an assistant, associate, and then there's product manager. So, you know, definitely, you know, getting to that associate level within the next year and then moving forward and becoming a product manager and, you know, kind of hopefully at the end of the day, you know, being that guy that handles all the product creation for collaborations would be dope. And a lot of it, like I said, is just, you know, being a sponge and making sure that I'm trying to learn as much as I can every day. But yeah, becoming a product manager, I think is that next step for me for sure. What about you, bro?
Well, for me, you know, I think one thing we talked about, I pride myself in building great relationships.
Absolutely.
So I want to continue to build great relationships in the sneaker industry with different brands, but also being able to be involved in different projects. Like I love collaborations and storytelling.
Absolutely.
And I would love to be able to get in those rooms, even if it's just with one brand that I'm super passionate about. And just get in there and help out just like with the culture, because a lot of times we do have people in these companies who, man, they've done the groundwork by starting a company, but they're so busy that they may not know exactly what's going on like on the ground as far as culture. And I think that I'm the type of person that is equipped with boots on the ground, having relationships and being internationally minded to where I could go to London, I could go to Africa, I could go to Japan and talk to people, learn about what may be important to them, and then bring it back to a brand or a company and be like, hey, this is the product that we should do for this culture or these people or this side of the globe, and it will be dope. Like, so that's kind of what my goal is, looking forward. And I'm just glad that I'm able to build dope relationships with yourself, and even people here at New Balance here in LA, where I pull up all the time just to show love and have conversations, which I would say to everybody here too. Don't be scared to pull up. You may not have a bodega or a flight club in your city, but if you have a Finish Line, a Champs, even if you have like a shoe carnival or a Ross, whatever, pull up. Go to Ross and get a job there that deals with the sneakers. Maybe you might be the person that actually inspects and orders all the sneakers that Ross may need to get, or whatever the case may be. Start somewhere. So, boom. All right. So, guys, thank you so much for tuning in today. We really, really appreciate it. Kev, go ahead. You could drop your IG for them.
Yeah.
Follow you.
Yeah, man. My IG is at KTrot1. Oh, let me type it. I'll type it right here. But it's
yeah. We could go ahead and type it in there.
Trot1. Yeah, man. Definitely excited to stay on this journey and making sure that, if you're really about it and you're really about the industry and you really want to get into the industry, Yellowbrick is really that stepping stone. And there's honestly not really many other things. That's another thing we didn't really touch upon, but there's a lot of other things that, Yellowbrick isn't something that is just readily available in other types of sectors. Like this is super, super key. And it's almost an anomaly in the sneaker industry. There's not really many other instructional sneaker courses like this. And so, just making sure that you really take that chance. If you're on the bridge, if you're on the brink, you're not really sure, take that chance. I think it's well worth it for sure.
Hop on it, man. No fear. Just go for it. The best thing, you won't regret it, And my
pencil. Someone said pencil. I see.
Yeah, pencil actually too has a great relationship with Yellowbrick too. So that's what I'm saying. Relationships go far, So, Kevin dropped his IG. I dropped my IG in there. So follow us. If you're interested in the program, you can hit the links in our bios and sign up for the program. If you have any questions regarding the program, you can DM us too. If we don't get to you right away, we promise we will try our best to get to you. But you can also send an email to to the Sneaker Essentials program. They have an email where you can get in touch with people. They have great people there that will give you the right information that you need to start off and be impactful in your program. There's always help. There's a Facebook program. Also, once you get into the Yellowbrick program, there's a Facebook program that you get into that you will have access to, where you can talk to so many people who comes from different walks of life, different experience that you can connect with. You might meet your business partner in there or your best friend, whatever. Straight up, like you guys may be in the same city or a few blocks away from each other, and you might start something. Yeah. Like this program right here, even for people who are overseas and in rural areas where you don't have a sneaker shop, you might need this program to be that person in your city, in your town, in your state, to actually to be the first one to start a sneaker boutique or a sneaker shop that may be the next Foot Locker, Finish Line, or Champs, whatever the case may be. So don't take this lightly. Hop on it, connect with people, and continue to tune into these webinars. Have you got anything else to say before we log off?
Man, I think we're Gucci, man. I appreciate the opportunity, dog. Always a pleasure talking to you, man.
Oh, for sure. You already know, brother. Absolutely. Yeah. Cool. All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Follow the Sneaker School, Yellowbrick.sneakerschool account, where you can find out more information about the Sneaker School program. We're always dropping graphics, interactive posts where we want to get your thoughts on things, and where you can also find out about the next webinar or other interviews that we have going on. So make sure you follow them too. I'll drop their @ as well. So thank you so much for tuning in. Have an amazing day.
All right, y'all.